Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast made for fans by fans, hosted by myself, Craig Gray, here tonight, Friday the 24th of May, giving you your Scottish Cup final preview pod. You can get us over at gersnet.co.uk, where you can see your forum, some nice articles that's been put up, and also a wonderful history archive on social media. You can get us over at Gersnet Online on Twitter, where you can see a lot of wonderful tweets as well. Just before I introduce my guest, first of all, I want to give a message from one of our partners, that is Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company and have been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years. They're absolutely delighted at the back in your pod. You can get them over at forrestprecisioneng.com. And you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge, a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. Now it's time to introduce my guest, Mr. Alec Anderson. Alec, Scottish Cup final eve. You feeling good? You feeling nervous yet?
Yeah, feeling good, Craig. Thanks. How's yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's weird. I thought the build up to this game has been really, really weird. It's like normally you get like the jitters, the excitement. I'm actually feeling pretty neutral. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm actually thinking with my head more than my heart than I do going into an Old Firm game, which is really, really weird. I don't know. It's just been weird. Like I've no tuned into anything really this week. Like your radio, your TV, your nothing. I've just been focused on work. This is really the first time I've had the chance to sort of think about things today. Hopefully the team can do it tomorrow. Just wanted to give everyone, by the way, a wee on this day, and it kind of fits in with the Scottish Cup theme. It's happy birthday, first of all, to Mr. DeMarcus Beasley, of course, the legend of Leon. But DeMarcus Beasley, also on this day, which was his birthday in 2008, scored in a Scottish Cup final against Queen of the South, and that was the last time, ironically, we'd done both a league and a Scottish Cup double in the same season. So is that fate or is that fate? Alec, we're relying on the gods of DeMarcus Beasley heading into tomorrow.
That'll do fine. Yeah, if there's gods we need, DeMarcus will have them. He's the kind of man to have them on side. I always liked DeMarcus, absolutely fantastic. That was at that game, and it's the same kind of scenario. The same kind of scenario, I think, where you're looking for the Scottish Cup win. Most Scottish Cup finals I've been to, you kind of come out of them either gutted because you've got beat, or it's more relief than anything else. A lot of Scottish Cup finals where Rangers have been kind of saving the season almost, like particularly the last one, 2022, you lose in Seville, then that's you. You've got to win that Scottish Cup because it seems really unfair that the team would come away from that season with nothing. And I think in 2008, having lost in Manchester a bit earlier, it wasn't the preceding game for that one, but in 2008, I felt as if for us to lose to a first division team, a lower league team, as we would be 8 years later in the Scottish Cup final, but for us to lose to a team for a lower division in the Scottish Cup final would have been a horrendous way for that team. It'd been really unfair on them because it's the longest campaign ever played by Rangers up until that point. And I just thought if we hadn't won the game that day, the slagging that I got for Scotland in general, all the Rangers haters and the Rangers haters that tend to support Rangers as well. We've got a lot of our own fans are really down on the team all the time. It just would have been totally unfair for the efforts they put in over that whole season. And I think there's a lot of that similar emotion going about tomorrow in Scott Bowl 150, Scott Bowl 150, Scott Bowl CL. Live from the Ian Skelly, Arnold Clark, Hampden Bowl over in the Bonnie Banks of Boundford. The Bears against the Dodgers.
Well, Alec, at least we win trophies in the seasons that we don't win European finals. So
this is it, mate. This is it.
At least that's something. First of all, before we get into the game tomorrow, we've announced a signing before the season's even ended, and I wanted to talk about that signing. The potential new signings that are coming in. Hefty, of course, signed a 4-year deal earlier. I seen him. Danilo's now his translator, which is, I think they two are going to have a bit of a laugh up here in Glasgow for the foreseeable future. I like the look of him. I think we've heard reports this week saying that he's going to be the Brazilian Tavernier, albeit at left back. So we're definitely in for a treat if that's the case. Alec, I'm quite happy with this signing. I think most of all, though, I'm happy that we're doing business proactively. I think it's rare that Rangers announce signings, or any team really announces signings before the end of seasons. I think last year we announced Kieran Dowell the Hearts game, the last game of the season, the last home game. But he was a free agent, so it's like you could have signed him at any point. Hefty's coming in for a fee, so it's quite rare that happens. And it looks as if as well we're going to get deals done for potentially 4 other players already. And this is before the transfer windows opened. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm an expert on Apoel Nicosia. Quite frankly, I've had enough of Cypriot football after what's happened to us this season. But in a way, we need to get excited, but also I'm trying not to get too excited because we all get really excited for last season's summer transfer window. But I'm quite pleased with this side and I'm active in the transfer market moving forward to next season.
Absolutely, and if he's the Brazilian Tav, that's quite good. Seeing his Tav's the blue Cafu, so it's coming around full circle. Our current manager, Mr. Clement, they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to know what they're after. They seem to have been after this guy for a while. I'm so tempted, especially as the battle fever kind of ramps up and the eve of the game, to say I'm not interested. I'm not interested in signings. I just want this. We should all be kind of focused emotionally, spiritually on this game. But the fact that the club itself is actually going to make signings is one thing, and it proves why that's kind of wrong of me. But the other thing, of course, is I'm going to go back in time, 1989, when we lost the treble in the Scottish Cup final to Celtic. They were boosted by Maurice Johnson, thinking Maurice Johnson was going to sign for them. Now, we ended up really getting the last laugh when it came to that. But the boost you can get just from looking ahead to the following season before the Scottish Cup final, anything, I think we need anything just now to create a kind of a feel-good factor. The problem with new signings is you might end up, the players that are going to get replaced, most players that are leaving will know by now, I would imagine. But you're maybe creating a kind of an uncertainty, or players thinking, right, well, I'm not getting a game next season, so chance to make down tools tomorrow. I would just because we're making new signings, I wouldn't think so. I don't think any new signings just now are directly threatening anybody that's in the team just now. But I find it hard to concentrate on the new signings as a supporter when we've got a game of such magnitude coming up. But it's like you say, I think the main thing is to know that the club are doing their business early and they're getting organised, because we'll certainly appreciate it come the start of next season.
Well, that's it, and I think you used that word there, trusting Clement and Coppin. I think they're saying the exact same thing last season and probably the same thing the season before. It seems to be a merry-go-round these summers, but I think this time, and yeah, I know the last season we said this time it's going to be different and this time it's going to be different. It really needs to be different this time, right? If we keep saying it, it will eventually be different, okay? That's what I'm saying. It will be different one day, okay? The difference for me this time is you've got Niels Coppin, who is a man who is experienced in the role that he's doing. He's actually got a proven track record. I think Ross Wilson with Southampton, there was a lot of Southampton fans that didn't really like the job that he'd done. He seemed to take credit for the sale of Virgil van Dijk when that happened, the second day that he came in, and it was basically already done anyway, but it was technically on his watch. So there was that, and then obviously Michael Beale as well, who I think's a better football coach and a football manager, and maybe doesn't quite have the eye for a player as guys like Coppin would, who's going to spend hours and hours and hours scouting these guys, and also Philippe Clement, who, let's face it, is a vastly experienced player and manager. He's played at the highest level, played at a World Cup. He's managed and the Belgian League, which, let's face it, the Belgian League is better than the Scottish League. It's a higher level than what we have got here. He's also managed in Europe, managed to take Bruges into the last 16 of the Champions League. That's the type of stuff that you want to see eventually happen at Rangers. So we need to trust these guys that are in charge. And look, he's won us a cup, and he's got his first ever win in Spain just as soon as he came in the door, really. And I think you're exactly right what you're saying. I was on the pod on Sunday night, myself and Granty with Brian, and I just basically started disappearing under the desk here when Brian said we're in the same situation we were last season, because you can't help yourself. You know what I mean? And there's already people, already Rangers supporters, as I say, starting to kind of bitch about Clement. And if we lose tomorrow, that will get ramped up as well. I think people were kind of questioning his record at Monaco because they got rid of him after 6 months. But there's a whole backstory there as well. And the very fact that he's managed in Monaco. I mean, but if you're loving Brendan Rodgers and saying he's because every Rangers manager's crap, therefore Brendan Rodgers is brilliant. Well, he was kind of eventually failed at Liverpool. And then
but that stood him in great stead for having the Celtic job. So I think you can kind of fail downwards for League One to Rangers these days, unfortunately, and still be able to have a massive success. So it's that horrible feeling of, we know we said all this last season and the season before, but and until we get some trophies in the door, there's still that doubt is always going to be there. But tomorrow will be a great time to start.
No, it definitely would be. I think, I can understand fans feeling a wee bit peeved off and frustrated, but for me, unless we get absolutely cuffed tomorrow, seriously cuffed, I don't really think Clermont will go into next season under a tremendous pressure. Not from my point of view, anyway, because at the end of the day, what the guys had to deal with has been the fact that he's managed to get half a tune out of these players is a miracle within itself. So
that's common sense, though, Craig. That's common sense. That's no, that's kind of like analysis almost. That'll not get you anywhere with the Rangers support. You know what I mean? Aye, you're spot on. Absolutely spot on.
But what did I tell you? I'm thinking my head this week instead of my heart going into an Old Firm game.
That's the way to do it.
What can you do? Also, as well, some big event happening tomorrow. Wanted to move on to that next. Obviously, the unveiling of Sir Walter statue. It's going to be a really poignant moment for his family and for the Rangers fans as well. I seen some people, what did you say earlier about people that just want to moan all the time? It's like, because pictures of the statue were leaked online and stuff like that, and people going, why the hell? It's like, really? I mean, people are just excited. People want it. People recognise, in my opinion, for this one, they recognise it's a big moment. I don't think they're being, disrespectful or anything like that. I think they're just excited about it. We're happy that it's finally happening. And it's great. At the end of the day, his family were involved in the discussions about it. They seem to be, they will be pleased with it. They would have signed off on it. And for what the previews look like anyway, it's going to be an absolute belter, and it's the absolute least that this man deserves. I think Walter Smith, for me, he encapsulates sort of two generations of Rangers supporters. I was the sort of his second spell. That was kind of the McLeish and then Smith that I sort of grew up with in my childhood, but also my dad grew up with Smith the first time round, and it's very, very rare. In fact, almost impossible that you get men in football who were your dad's hero, but then were also your hero as well. It's very, very rare that you get that, and I think that second spell just really made them the absolute legend that is. It just confirmed that legendary status. But it's been a long time coming, and it's going to be a really, really great moment tomorrow at 12 when that's unveiled.
Absolutely beautiful and overdue. Seriously overdue. And you're talking about your dad. I think Walter Smith was a man who became like a second dad for a lot of us, like a surrogate dad for a lot of people as well amongst the Rangers support. It wasn't just the achievements; it was the man himself. And we're talking about Scottish Cup tomorrow. Well, first of all, that second spell you're talking about, I think that's when Rangers changed, even before liquidation. I know there was money problems and what have you, but when I was growing up, Rangers didn't do romance. We started the league season well and we won it, or we weren't doing well enough and we were never going to win it. We were either good and good right the way through, or we're bad and bad right the way through. If we didn't do the kind of last minute glory Celtic stuff, and then Walter came in for that second spell, and I have never known a more romantic period in Rangers history. It started with Alec McLeish and Helicopter Sunday. That was something we just didn't do, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Celtic would have won the league that day. The fact that it was really weird for that to happen. It was amazing. But I think Walter came in, and obviously because the amount of financial problems for David Murray and for Rangers in general, it really became not a battle against the odds. We obviously had much more money than most other teams in Scotland. But the stuff he was achieving, it wasn't just that we won 2 trophies in every one of his 4 full seasons back in charge, and that 3 of those seasons, one of the trophies was a league title. It was the ones we didn't win. It was losing in extra time to Celtic in the League Cup final one season, losing with the last kick of the ball in a replay up at Tannadice in the Scottish Cup one season. This team just didn't stop. It was the run, same as it had been in 9 in a row. But we lost 10 in a row on the last day of the season. It was running on fumes. That injury time goal, Ali Mitchell, a few weeks before, it kind of cost us the title, but it just took everything right to the wire. And it was absolutely, that was the man himself. I'm just going to, I have it going on too much, but if I can't go into too much about Walter, who can I go into too much about? Tomorrow, going to the Scottish Cup final. I remember the 1996 Scottish Cup final. I saw Rangers lose the first 3 Scottish Cup finals I went to. I was only like 12, 1982, 83, and then I was 89. I went to that final. We lost them all. And then I was back in full-time education or whatever for a lot of the 90s. So the next one I got to was 1996. And I'm like, I've seen Rangers go 1 goal in the Scottish Cup final. I've never actually been there when we've won the thing. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered going. And my sister had got she was working for Ladbrokes, an area manager for Ladbrokes at the time. And she'd got us complimentaries for the semi-final as well. We actually ended up practically in the Celtic end of the main stand, and we had to get a swap, for the semi-final, which was good fun. But the final itself, I went to my sister's flat to get her before we went up to Hampden, and she's got the picture of Richard Goff's autobiography, and on it, it's Richard Goff lifting the Scottish Cup, I think at Parkhead in '93, on the cover of the book. And you've got all the mad, you see all the mad guys in the suits with their fists waving, just below, okay, yeah. Like for Rangers captains throughout the years lifting the Scottish Cup, I've got a picture behind me in front of with John Gregg. Same thing. And I'm saying to my sister, I hope that's us the day. I hope that's us. And we get into the main stand that day, and I kid you not, our seats, our complimentary seats, were resting against the podium. We're actually sitting against the presentation podium. So it's all posh folk. We've got the suits on, but we're like total Rangers nut jobs. Everybody else is properly posh in this area, right up to the director's box. So when Brian Laudrup scores the first goal, my sister and I are going mental. We're the only ones stood up. Everybody else is just sitting politely clapping. And we turn round, and it means there's nobody else stood up between us, and Walter was sitting in the director's box at that point. And he was up on his feet, and we just went, fucking Walter. And he just winked at the two of us. And my sister and I just went, Walter winked at us! Walter winked at us! And we're hugging each other and what have you. But it was probably the most magical moment in my whole life. Supporting Rangers was just getting a wink for Walter Smith. I never met him. I don't like meeting the players or the managers. I'm not interested in meeting my heroes and that kind of thing. I like to adore, and that's it. And I don't think I've adored anybody in Rangers history more than Walter.
Aye, what a great story. I think the only final that I would have went under him would have been that Queen of the South one. And weirdly, I went to the game with my mum. I think my dad was just that scunnered after Manchester. Like, you take him, you take the win, you take the win to see that First Division mob that nobody cares about. And obviously we won that game. I never went to the one the following year. I think was at Falkirk. That was the one where Noble scored. I never went to that game. I remember watching that in the telly. And in fact, I actually missed Noble's goal because I was in the kitchen getting a drink. Then I just hear the screams for the living room. And you're like, oh, brilliant.
I was just that was not a good game. That was not a good game. We were struggling that day against Falkirk as well, but we won the double that day. Got the job done. I've not missed a Scottish Cup final that we played in the 21st century, if you like, but I missed. I think we played at 6 in the 90s, and I missed all of them except that one. But I was at the 2000 final, and I've perfect attendance record since then. But we've not had enough Scottish Cup finals this century at all. So it's good to be back in it anyway.
No, it definitely is. Just before we go and speak about the match, tomorrow, guys, want to give you another message from another one of our sponsors, Football Prizes. They are an organisation who specialise in football competitions and match draws. And if you go to our Twitter at Gersnet Online, you can see this week's fantastic prizes. You can win one of 2 fantastic framed boots displayed by Mr. Alan McCoist and Borna Barisic for just £3.95. There's maximum of 165 tickets, and the competition closes on Thursday, the 30th of May. So you can get over to our Twitter for that, or you can go on to footballprizes.co.uk to enter that competition there. Right, we've done the history. Now we need to talk about the present. It's a big game tomorrow, isn't it? Old Firm Scottish Cup final, Alec. And
absolutely massive.
I
can't wait, to be honest.
I know. But we've now got the battle fever on after the football prizes.
That's it. I can't see how we're going to lose, to be honest.
Exactly. First Old Firm Scottish Cup final for 22 years, if you're that way inclined. I wanted to ask you your memories of that game, Alec. I was 4, so I only get to see this through the prism of YouTube highlights, unfortunately. But goes down as one of the greatest games in Rangers history, and rightfully so. Tell us your memories of that game.
I think myself and the fella I was sitting next to, I've still got massive gouges in my thighs. And I it does get you pretty excited going to a Scottish Cup final. And I've got absolutely nothing, as you know, I'm a big woke libtard, and I'm absolutely nothing against the man-on-man love. But it was just, I get smug. My bad memory is I didn't have a ticket on the day of the game, and I got a wee phone call from a very good friend who smuggled me in. Him, myself, and another mate of his I'd never met before. And he got us, it was in the press area, right at the very front of the press area. Mark Dingwall was sitting just across from me. Robert McElroy, the Rangers historian, he was sitting just behind me. I remember that. And I'm sitting with this boy, another blue nose, it's fine. And it's like, right, again, that's the 2 times I've been in the kind of shot and tie, have to behave yourself, but in the Scottish Cup final. And it was to keep calm. You weren't allowed to jump up and down, basically. You weren't allowed to jump up and down and celebrate like an idiot, like I usually would. See, trying to keep calm when you've scored a last-minute winner against Celtic in a 3-2 game in the Scottish Cup final. We'd actually made a pact, because this was like, we'd already scored 2 goals. Me and this other boy were going to hold each other down, as opposed to getting that's by the end of it, I think we're drawing blood and each to try and keep each other down when that goal went in. But similar to tomorrow, in that we hadn't beaten Celtic in the league that season. But so different.
Oh, I never knew that.
Now, we hadn't beaten Celtic in the league that season, but the weird thing is we changed manager. Obviously, Dick Advocat moved upstairs, and we got McLeish in December. Big Ed came in December, and he really did. He freshened things up, but it wasn't anything sensational. And I think a lot of what happened that day really speaks to tomorrow. Celtic cruised the league. I mean, I think they were like nearly 20 points or something they won the league by. But the first 2 Old Firm games in the league under McLeish, we drew at Ibrox, cracking Arthur Newman goal, and we drew them at Parkhead. And that was the only game that Celtic hadn't won at home in the league. We took away the 100% record at home, and they were so upped by that. And we'd already beaten them in the League Cup semi-final. I think it was maybe February time. We'd beaten the League Cup semi-final. The Bert Conterman Classic, you'll have seen that one as well. Mm-hmm. As a goal for the ages. So we were under the skin. We almost had a kind of jinx on them, despite the fact that they'd romped the league and we hadn't beaten them in the league that season. And you could see we had an energy, whereas Celtic were getting really leggy. And it got to when it came to the final. I mean, during the actual final itself, you could see them starting to wilt. I mean, they were taking the lead a couple of times. One kind of anecdote I remember when Bobo Baldi scored for Celtic, he ran right up to the bit where I was kind of sitting, just basically up to the range. He ran right the way down the park and come right up to the front of the main stand where the Rangers support were. And everybody's like, yeah, get up, everybody's up at their seat. And he went like that, lifts his shirt up and reveals the most ripped, massive beast of a chest you've ever seen in your life. And everybody's like, oh, good goal. Bobo, it's all right. Shouting themselves in front as if he's going to come in and gaze it down. But it was an absolutely sensational game. And I think the thing to remember is that Rangers team almost kind of relinquished the league that season, but kept themselves so they could beat Celtic in the Cup. What we've got this season might be the opposite. We might not win tomorrow, but there's something to be said. I know there's no place at Rangers for any kind of losing. We just want to write off any time that we don't lose. This team have been trying their best on 4 different fronts, Europe included. Celtic also copped out of Europe this season, and I think it's something to bear in mind. And anybody who is thinking, and I've seen all this patter going about Rangers Twitter, doesn't matter, they chopped the league, this team, I'll never forgive them, all this kind of garbage. Look at how that 2002 final is regarded. It's deified. It's like one of the most golden memories in recent Rangers history. Didn't win the league that season by even more than we hadn't won it by this season. So you need to go into that final tomorrow knowing that if you do win it, it will change things amazingly. And one other wee thing to bear in mind is later on that month, I went to the Champions League final. Bayer Leverkusen losing to Real Madrid, the Zidane goal. Real Madrid are back in the Champions League final, and Bayer Leverkusen just lost a European final during the week. So maybe there's some omens there,
Are you going to Wembley for this one?
No.
Oh. Well, that's it. That's the whole thing.
No, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the teams. It's about the teams that are in it. Although the one thing I would say is they lost in Dublin this time, so maybe it's a bad omen. Who knows?
Well, we've got the Beasley effect, and we've got the German clubs losing in European finals effect. So
here we go.
I know it's happening. It's happening. On to the team selection, I think first and foremost, obviously we got the big news yesterday that Ridvan was probably unlikely going to make it. And I know people are just going to get really angry and upset, and they did yesterday because it's like he's always injured. But I feel really bad for the guy. I mean, when Clement's saying he's coming up to him saying, with tears in his eyes, it's not something you want to see ever, especially a guy like that who he does, to be fair to him, he does give it his all every game. I know he did struggle to settle, I think, initially here in Glasgow, but he has been really good for us this season, I think, and, it'll be a shame if he doesn't make it. Borna Barisic, I don't know if he's going to be fit or not. I don't know if maybe he just left him out of the Hearts game because he just couldn't risk another possible injury coming into this game. Maybe there's a reason that he didn't bring Barisic off the bench against Dundee. Maybe he had a feeling that this might have happened. But with the way it's looking right now, is it going to be Sterling? Is it going to be Robbie Fraser that plays at left back tomorrow if they two are unavailable? For me, I think might be a bit controversial. I think I want players playing under natural positions. I think Fraser's done well enough. I don't think he's been amazing, but I don't think he's been crap either. But he's a Rangers fan. He's going to give it his all. Scottish Cup final against Celtic. And at the end of the day, if he was to play tomorrow, I don't think people are going to be getting the knife out if, we get beat for him. You know what I mean? So I think the last game at Ibrox, when we were really supposed to go and take it to Celtic, I was wanting us to do that. We did play Sterling at left back, and from the Celtic goal within 20 seconds, he gives the ball away with the ball, and he's playing out of position. It happened again the first Old Firm game of the season, where I don't think Sterling's that great at left back, just because it's not his natural position, even though he's still an absolute unit there. But I would love to see Sterling further forward. I would like to see him in the midfield this time. What about you, Alec? If they two are available, right, we'll do it on the premise that Barisic and Yilmaz are both unavailable. You need to make a decision: Sterling or Fraser at left back.
That's the only premise under which I would have Robbie Fraser playing at left back. Is if it gets Sterling.
And by the way, I would still, if Barisic is fit, again another controversial one, I would play Barisic. I think it's controversial, Craig. No, don't listen to the noise, mate. You've got to play Barisic. Well, he's not. The thing is, right, with Barisic, he's not coming up against Lula Abada. So I mean, he should be all right. And the thing that might worry me about Robbie Fraser is he's coming up against James Forrest most likely. And although James Forrest has lost a yard of pace, he's an older, more experienced player. So there might be a wee bit of can he take advantage of Robbie Fraser up there in his head? But I think Barisic against Forrest, to be honest, it's not something that would worry me as much as, a Barisic against Abada. So I want players playing in their natural position. So hopefully we can have an actual left back playing at left back tomorrow.
Aye, that'd be good, and I hope it's Yilmaz. I hope that's just a wee, the manager just try to kind of, overemphasise that, and then he steps out tomorrow. There's tears in my eyes when I found that he wasn't playing, or he was a good chance he was going to be out. But Yilmaz, he's one. I remember his mum saw him to the airport when he was leaving Besiktas. Was that footage? His mum seen him onto the taxi to take him to the airport. And you're thinking, he's only just turned. Was it 23? He's just a young fella, Yilmaz. But it's that horribly frustrating thing where not only is he injured all the time, he's obviously just going to be injured all the time. It looks awful like that. But he's fit just long enough to show you that he could be brilliant for us. That he's actually worth the money we paid to buy him. When he's at full tilt, he's great, Yilmaz. He adds another dimension to us. And I think he would be a fantastic boon. We need something tomorrow. Don't go 2 goals down, as we have done in every Clermont Old Firm derby so far. Maybe try and avoid the red cards or make sure they get more than us. Although one of my biggest fears for tomorrow is that Celtic beat as well. They're down on men as well. But I just think that the main thing for me is something has to happen that's different, and it could be you get these stories. This is getting into the fantasy kind of hope above hope type scenario. You get these wee stories like Derek Johnston going back 50 odd years, starting as a 16-year-old in the League Cup final. He'd only played against Dunfermline or Cowdenbeath or something before in the league. Well, I think he scored in that game as well. Not very much experience, but Willie Waddle sees something, as he did with Derek Parley in the Cup Winners' Cup semi-final against Bayern in the second leg, all these kind of iconic stories. It could be just that wee bit something different. He's so young that he doesn't get in any way nervous, and he has a great game, Robbie Fraser, and Celtic don't know enough about him, to be able to get past him. But what I saw of him against Hearts, I have to say, he looked like he's got a long way to go. He is really, really raw at this level. On, common sense would tell you it could potentially be a disaster to have the wee fella in there. It'd be unfair on him as well at this stage in his development, certainly first team development anyway. I know he's been a kind of stalwart with the B team, but I would, if I didn't know. I was asking the question last week as well myself, Craig. I really don't know what happened with is like Ruth and Barisic just not being quoted at all at Tynecastle. I suppose you could be wrapping them in cotton wool, but it makes you think, well, why do you play Yilmaz? Well, it's because he needs more game time in his legs, I suppose, at Tynecastle. They had to get that in there, but it's weird. It's just I don't really know what's going on at all, and I don't know how honest the manager's been. I'm quite happy for him to lie to us as long as it's said to get one over on Celtic, but I would like to see Yilmaz starting first and foremost at left back. Then to myself, Barisic. But if it has to be Robbie Fraser, I think it should only be because we need to get Sterling up in midfield.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. On Kamal Roof, actually, he put up an Instagram post like 2 years ago saying something about last roll of dice tomorrow. So I think he'll be in the squad. So hopefully it was a double six.
Is he injured these days?
No yet.
His dice will pulp something.
Aye, it might be tumbling this time tomorrow. Who knows? What,
he's the man. I wouldn't put it past him. Like Kamar to just go out in a blaze of glory. Fantastic.
Well, if it starts to rain tomorrow, we could always go through the halfway line in a heap of mud like he done in Belgium a couple of years ago. That would be good. But I think, do you know what, if it has to play Fraser, he has to play him. I do think if neither of them are fit, though, I do think that the manager will probably just go with Sterling at left back, just because he's kind of done it before and it's a more safe option. Even if that means not having him in the midfield. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of midfield anyway, Alec, Mr. John Lundstrom will come back into contention for this one tomorrow. I've been fairly vocal on him the last couple of weeks, it's safe to say. I think what I do and what the manager does is probably going to be two different things. I don't think he should play for Rangers again until tomorrow, to be quite honest. I'm still really, really angry with the way that he conducted himself at Celtic Park. I think first goal, he's not picking up his man, and he was warned a couple of times before. Second goal, the own goal, it's not as if it was like a last ditch, defence to try and stop the ball going in. It was just get his body position all wrong, and I get that these things can maybe happen. But then the red card for me, it's unforgivable, and I don't think it's one of those ones where he's just went in to do the player, or I don't think he's just went in to intentionally get himself sent off. I actually think he got the red card probably from a good place in a weird way. I think he's went in for the challenge, going, well, back in the game, I know I've made 2 monumental efforts. I want to show the fans that I'm really still up for this, and I think he's just got it horribly wrong. But that tells me that I just don't think that he's got the mentality to deal with these high-pressure scenarios in games against Celtic anyway. I think if he plays tomorrow, I've just got a really bad feeling that he might be all over the place mentally again. I know I think you said last week in the pod that you would still like him to play, because we know what he can do, and to be fair to him, his best game against Celtic was at Hampden a couple of years ago, but I just don't think he's got it up there for these Old Firm games. I just don't. But what's your take on that?
Like you said, I mean, it was an icon 2 years ago. It's a long time ago. So maybe it doesn't count anymore. But it was an absolute icon for a tackle that he had in that semi-final against Celtic at Hampden in the Scottish Cup, which is what we're playing tomorrow. I know for a fact, for me, I'm quite happy to admit, and it's not a big admission, that the night we beat Leipzig is the greatest night of my life as a Rangers supporter. That was absolutely phenomenal. Greatest moment ever in terms of just Rangers, an actual, my favourite communal event, never mind Rangers match. It was just amazing, grown men crying and all that kind of stuff. And John Lundstrom was the best on earth. Long time ago in football, I feel as if the build-up, that people are talking now as if this whole thing of I never want to see him playing for Rangers again, which he's going to be a good chance he's leaving anyway. So it's this one game we're talking about, so it kind of dramatises that. But I think that's been talked about as if that was something that just happened this week or the last 2 weeks after that Old Firm game. That was the build up to that game. The build up to that game, all over Rangers Twitter, all over social media, was from so many Rangers fans was, I don't want to see Lundstrom playing. He's going to get swamped. He's going to give the midfield away. He cops it all the time. So you can say fair play. Rangers fans knew that was going to happen. It wasn't just they weren't just being smart after the fact. But I think it got to the point where it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, because John Lundstrom was just bad at Parkhead. He was broken. It was actually broken. And I can guarantee you, in another world, in that very same world, had he not made that tackle on Johnson, that assault, it would be a case of, there you go, Lundstrom has got a chance to nail somebody. He's got a chance to get in there and get something got in. He can't even do a sliding tackle. He can't even get stuck in. It's a harmless area of the park. It's not as if it's in front of his own goal and he's going to get sent off. Why is he chickening out of that tackle? All that stuff, I think, would have been going through his head as well. And that's part of the deal as being a Rangers player. If you can't cope with that thing that your own fans basically hate you for half your career, then that's what we saw. Alan McCoy, the greats, coming through that, growing that extra layer of skin and what have you. That is part of the deal. That's what makes you bad enough. We're talking about. I think I've got no problem. What I'm saying, if he doesn't play, I think the manager will make the decision that has to be made. I trust Clement, but I can totally see why he would play him, and I can totally see why he wouldn't. I'm kind of nonplussed either way. I just feel as if we're talking about the Scottish Cup, we're talking about Walter Smith. At 2009 final, I went to when we beat Falkirk. I'm sitting up the back of the North Stand, and I don't do the confrontation stuff, in crowds and what have you. Face to face, one on one, I'm quite happy to whatever. But you don't want to show yourself up as you don't want to shame the Rangers support and that kind of stuff. But there was a boy who was out my mouth before I knew it. Walter Smith brought on Christian Daly at the end of that game. It wasn't going well. We were winning 1-0, but we're kind of hanging on. And there's a guy in front, a few rows in front of me, kind of mouthing off the whole game. And he must have been really wee and all that, so I was feeling brave. And I was like, I think his mother still had him in the stroller, the reins on and all that. But I was going to fucking say something. He's making it, he's trying to go out and all that, and his wee sister's holding him back. But she's the best fighter in Primary 6. So anyway, I just says to him, he's like, Walter, what are you bringing him on for? Christian Daly up front? What are you putting Christian Daly up front? And just because I happened to know, I must have heard somebody say this, like, he scored a hat-trick in his debut for Dundee United when he was 16. He's like, I said, when was that? I said, don't mate, but we won the fucking league last week. We won the league 6 days ago. You know what I mean? People, there's a thing at Rangers where it gets to the point where it's like, it's good to hate your own. And I never understood it, because the kind of macho ship is sailed the minute you decide that you're following 11 men all around the country and just giving them your love. You know what I mean? It's nothing tough about following Rangers. It's the easiest job in the world, and it's great fun. It's a declaration of undying love. So try to be cynical about it and hard about it. I've never really understood. And I was the following season, the League Cup final. There's boys coming in, they're like, older guys, Soviet rings and all that. And it was that kind of. It's one of the times I first realised that older guys could be, proper bampots, And it was the guy was just standing having a pop at everybody in the crowd. You think Smith's brilliant. You think Smith's great. You think Walter Smith's great. His fitness turgid. It's totally defensive. It's crap. And that was the game we won. We beat St Mirren with 9 men. And they got up and left. The same as the boy at the Scottish Cup final, got up and left before the trophy presentation because they were just raging with this guy, Walter Smith. Earlier that season, we played Forfar, the 2009 Scottish Cup. We played Forfar up. I was up at the game got cancelled and the Sunday postponed because of the weather. Had to go back up midweek. I remember we're beating Forfar. We scored the first goal. Marcus Beasley got injured that game. And there's guys standing there shouting, oh, well, we could hold on for 1-0. Seal it up at the back, we could hold on for 1-0. No, that kind of side of the mouth, I know better, he's fit by shit. No, all the greatest people, every single player who achieves anything, does anything good for Rangers ever, every figure, every manager ever, there is always a body. There's a constituency within the support that doesn't just hate them, but wants to be heard and seen hating them because they think it makes them cleverer. John Lundstrom, it was a disastrous game against Celtic at Parkhead. But if we think he's the problem, the weekend before that, he basically was involved in 3 of the 4 goals we scored against Kilmarnock, 2 assists and 1 direct kind of interference in one of them. This whole thing, he only plays for 3 or 4 months and then he chucks it. We can't get a player to play for 3 or 4 weeks this season. So it does for me that John Lundstrom kind of turns up for 3 months. He's the wrong player in the wrong position. He doesn't have the skill set. He never has had that we actually require in that position. That's not his fault. But the fact that we actually we might need more cover at centre half, and John can drop in there, might be a bit handy to have him involved tomorrow. But I don't really, I'm not saying I don't care whether he plays or not. I'm not that fussed either way. I trust the manager to make the right decision. But I think it's more pertinent to say just now that I would have no problem whatsoever if John Lundstrom plays tomorrow. I don't get the actual hate for him, the kind of level of bile that's thrown his way from Rangers supporters when there's so many more players who just, because they don't turn up at all, seem to get away with it. But I would prefer to have, just to be kind of ordinary about it and stop ranting and raving, I'd be quite happy if we've John Lundstrom alongside Sterling and we're pushing Diamandi up maybe into the 10. I would be quite, I quite fancy that. But if it's maybe just Cantwell, or we're going to go with Cantwell or Lawrence again at 10, then maybe it's you want Sterling up alongside Diamandi in the sitting two, and I'd be quite happy for Lundstrom to take a back seat.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe part of the issue with Lundstrom in these games as well is he does just look a wee bit too slow when you compare it to the Celtic midfield. And again, that's not necessarily his fault. That's just, as you say, I mean, that's the type of player he is. Maybe questions should be asked as to why we're signing types of players like that and why we're continuing to play them instead of other players. But
so he's getting caught up like everybody else. He's played under 4 managers in 3 years.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's that's going to have a negative effect. I saw folk get the minute the day he gets sent off against, remember that Alashkert, he did sell the jerseys that night. We tried to.
I forgot about that.
but oh my God, it's that 2002 final. I'm thinking of Big Lorenzo. He scored the winner the following season. We won the treble. But Alfie saved us that night, and we were gash against Alashkert in the second leg as well when we had the full 11 in the park. But it's like he's getting right back to that. Well, he scored an absolute stonker against Dunfermline in the League Cup like the same week, the same month or whatever, and then he comes out. Eventually, he's scoring winners in European semi-finals to put us into the final. So it's not as if the guy's always been crap and has always sold the jerseys. I feel as if it's been too much to the pile on, and we really don't need that kind of atmosphere tomorrow. Listen, with the Hampden riot, Old Firm riots at the Scottish Cup final, 1909. It was at the end of the replay, and all the fans get together, the Rangers fans and Celtic fans united to fight the police and fight the ambulance and all that, and get trying to get the money back that they thought they were being conned out of. 1980, end of extra time. We get on the park, Rangers fans fighting the Celtic fans. I think tomorrow will be the first time there's an Old Firm Scottish Cup final riot. If if everybody reads on their phone on Twitter at 1:30 that Lundstrom's in the team, and it's just the Rangers fans attacking the Rangers bench, for picking them, I think the manager knows what he's doing. I thought his defence of Lundstrom in the presser was kind of difficult to tell if he meant I'll pick who I want, the fans will not tell me who to pick, or if it was actually him saying I am going to pick Lundstrom. You know what I mean? I think in general terms, or no, I know what you mean.
I think, as I say, my kind of feeling is that both left backs are injured. Sterling will probably go in at left back. I think that's what the manager will do, and I think if that's the case, he probably will be looking to play Lundstrom in the midfield. The problem is as well the options. I mean, they get people that have got coming in, Raskin, and I do like Raskin, but
that's the other problem. Yeah, he's just been so quiet.
I think the thing that he's got over Lundstrom for me is he's probably a bit more energetic. But it's like, if that's the only thing he's got going over somebody, then there's a problem, and that's a long-term issue that we're going to have to solve. But it's kind of like, what do you do for this one match tomorrow? And I don't know what the manager's thinking. I really don't. You can't second guess him, and that's probably part of the reasons to why I really like him as well, because you can't second guess him. And I like it when he lies as well in press conferences. That's what you want. That's what you want for a manager.
Aye. It's like do you want a midfielder who can't put in a slide tackle? You can't put a slide dirty tackle in. No, you need a bit of that. It's the exact opposite of what we got under Beale, where Beale was just giving it, look at me, I'm a manager. Clement is just trying to win the next game. He's just in it. He is the job, rather than trying to impersonate somebody who's got the job. No.
Aye, well, that is very, very true. I was going to mention this slightly, but we might just do it a wee bit quicker. About Todd Cantwell, we might not talk about the controversial meals that he's been having this week, the shush burgers. I could maybe do with a couple of them tomorrow, regardless of the result. Would you play him tomorrow? I don't know. I'll be speaking to Scott, obviously, on this podcast as well, and he's Cantwell's biggest fan. I think he's wanting to go out and dates with him to Rugby and stuff like that and all. He's saying to me, you would play him on Saturday, wouldn't you, Craig? I'm like that. Yeah, probably, because I think if we're going to play a 10 out of necessity, I would rather him start the game than Lawrence. I think Lawrence is better coming on and making an impact in these games if he's even fit. I think if we're playing a 10, start Cantwell, but I kind of like the idea that you've had. I like the sort of two sitters and then Diamande. Maybe he doesn't need to necessarily play a 10, but maybe a sort of in between a 9 and a 10. Because I think that, look, we're going to need to do something different against Celtic tomorrow. Whether that's tactically or the shape or whatever, we're going to have to do something differently to beat them tomorrow, because pretty much every single game, not just this season, but last season as well, it's followed the sort of same pattern and structure. They start fast, they're on top, they score a goal or 2 goals, we come back into the game, and by the time we come back into the game, it's too late and the game's done. So we need to try and do something different. But I don't know, maybe... I'm thinking, for me, my front three tomorrow would probably be McCausland, Dessers, and one of Cantwell or Silva. I would like to see sort of 3 sitters or 2 sitters in Diamande, if that kind of makes sense. And if you are going to play Cantwell, play him in a sort of drifty wide position or something like that. You know, if that's what he's wanting to do. Let's hope he doesn't take the huff if he's getting played with wide, like he seems to have done before. But either him or Silva, and to be fair to Silva, I know he's been getting a lot of slack as well. I actually thought Silva was pretty decent at Parkhead, minus the sitter that he missed. He can cause Alistair Johnson problems, and he did do that. And I know he was diving about the place, the free each draw at Ibrox, but he still made the penalty against Johnson. He still got in front of him for that chance, so he can cause them issues. But this is the thing: we don't know what the team's going to be. You would like to think the manager's going to know at this stage. You know what I mean? He should know, but you couldn't.
We've got too many players. We've got too many players in these positions that are that can do enough to get you excited. But but you're thinking, if he could have a good day tomorrow, you're not thinking he's a guaranteed start. You know, there's so many of them. Like Silva, you're spot on. He's getting slagged rotten for, you know, a couple of chances he missed, a couple of poor executions, taking a dive as opposed to, you know, putting his head right through the ball, etc. at Parkhead. But nobody else was doing anything at Parkhead. He was actually getting involved. He was actually giving Celtic something to think about. You know, Dessers does the same. He's kind of his physicality, whether he's getting on the ball or not. But we can't. Well, for me, it's the same thing. I think, it's there. He's the 2 semi-finals against Hearts, both competitions this season. 2 semi-finals. Cantwell gets taken off at half-time against Hearts in the League Cup semi-final because he's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's not having an effect. On comes Scott Wright, and that's it. Game's transformed. Score 3 goals in like 20 minutes, and that's it, done. The Scottish Cup semi-final against Hearts, Cantwell lays on the winner for Dessers and basically has a really decent game. So it's, and I don't know, it's the posturing makes me worry about his temperament, you know, his attitude. You know, I'm the guy that's sticking up for John Lundstrom, who, you know, did literally sell the jerseys in the last game at Parkhead. But Cantwell, I feel also, I think it's touch and go with him sometimes. You know, I see everybody below 30 as a wee boy, you know, anyway, so I feel kind of abusive, you know, actually having a proper pop at but he's on social media, and the kind of talking tough at the wrong time thing makes me worry about his mentality. If I don't mind being, I've seen this last Sunday in the pod, I don't mind somebody being a bit spiky and a bit narky if they can back it up, if they can lift his level. And you're absolutely spot on. We need a spark. We need something tomorrow that's going to change it, and change it early. Even us just scoring the first goal, to no go 2 goals down, would be a bonus. That'd be a total difference. But to get the first goal tomorrow would be absolutely massive. And if we just try something that Celtic can't get their head round for the first 50 minutes, 20 minutes, I could see Cantwell being at the centre of some new kind of tactic. For me, you're right what you're saying. I'm not talking about Diamande playing a 10 as such. It's more that in front of the sitting 2, because I think he has played there this season once or twice. Once anyway, he can hit them. He's scored a couple from outside the box, got a good dig on him. But also, I just say it because the 2 times I've gone to Parkhead, both under Clement this season, he has put Cantwell and then Lawrence in the 10, but mostly to sit on Callum McGregor, which they've failed to do properly. I think Diamande could do that properly. But that's just my, you know, I'm not basing that on anything that's really happened this season. You know, I'm cutting and pasting a kind of a naff idea to give me something to hold on to, hope-wise tomorrow. But something like that, we could do something like that. I would give Seema, I'm going to talk about Seema, but I would give him a start. And I would have McCausland on the right hand side. But even then, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking Tav's really slowing down. He's dying a death this season. He's run himself into the ground. He's been bad defensively. I know he's not a defender by any manner of means, Tav, but I don't know if we need cover in front of him. And I'm thinking about Sterling maybe needing to do it wide right. But I would rather have Sterling. I'd rather have Sterling in the middle. Besides, for me to be Lundstrom and with Diamandi in front of them. But I also can't see the manager going with that, and that's maybe where Cantwell comes into it. But you're absolutely right. I think we need to try something different. But it's whatever you do tomorrow, because the players haven't been on it enough, you just take a chance.
Aye, that's it. But we're all confused about what this team might or might not be tomorrow. I think the thing with me for Cantwell is, can he really take the game by the scruff of the neck? See when you're down in the dumps, when you're getting beat, like see if you're getting beat 1-0 tomorrow, right, and Cantwell's on the pitch with maybe 10, 15 minutes to go. Is he going to be the guy to like rally the troops, get the team together, do something completely out of the blue, completely magical? I don't know. He's not been that type of player before. Cantwell seems to be a bit of a confidence player where if he's on his game and he's doing everything brilliantly, the pressure's off him. Like he's proved the last 2 league games, he's had brilliant, and I kind of joked about it. It was like, I watched Cantwell turn into Prime Messi now that the league's finished, and he kind of has, because he done the exact same last season as well. But Todd, we just want you to take the game by the balls and just do something when the chips are down. Like, come on.
And that's the thing, the fact he's been kind of posturing and what have you, even when he got interviewed by Luke Shanley after that goal against Dundee, and he's saying to him, did you mean it or no? I couldn't tell whether he was refusing to answer the question because, he's raging at the manager. There was a definite kind of huffiness involved, but was it a kind of, I don't want to start doing the bantery thing of course I meant it or whatever, because that feels inappropriate just now. That would be fine if he meant it because we just, we lost at Parkhead and Saturn was a disgrace. We've probably lost the league now and I'm really embarrassed about that and we've got to knuckle down. We owe the fans something. Or was it, the manager should have started me I should have got off the bench at Parkhead. That's what he gets. I've just shown him what I can do. It was difficult to tell, why he was in the huff, or why he was being so kind of serious in that answer. And in one respect, it'd be absolutely acceptable, and the other, it'd be totally unacceptable. So, and he's definitely having his problems with Clement, and Clement's trying to sort him out. Has been trying to kind of carrot and stick him all season. So I don't know, but it's what you can imagine, and I could very well imagine if we score the first goal tomorrow, that would be fantastic. The place goes crazy. It becomes that kind of, here we go, this could happen. And you can imagine Todd Cantwell being that guy who steps up and does that thing different. But I probably wouldn't, start him on the basis of the team I was talking about before, the midfield I was talking about before. But that means he should and probably will score a hat-trick.
Listen, I'll take that. I'll definitely take that. They can have as many shush buggers as he likes. I think the thing with the whole social media, and I know he's kind of been compared to Fabio Silva because both of them are posting really weird stuff on Instagram and that. See Fabio Silva, right? That guy just seems completely spaced out in a world of his own, right? I don't think he's got a clue about his surroundings or what's happening, right? I think he's
going to be good.
I think he's just going to be the most chilled out guy on the planet. He's probably sitting in his gaff night before games, playing his PlayStation, listening to Bob Marley, doing all sorts, completely zoned out, not got a clue what's happening. I think the difference with Cantwell is he kind of knows what he's doing. There's no real excuse for it. He knows the backlash that his posts have been gotten, and he's trying to be funny and he's trying to be clever. I think if you're comparing both of them, their sort of social medias, I think that's probably the main difference. I think Fabio Silva's probably a wee bit innocent. He's not probably got a clue what he's doing, but I think Cantwell probably does mean it, and for me that makes it a bit worse.
The two of them need to work. They need to. That's the problem. Yeah. It's this team, modern football in general, but the way Rangers are operating, especially an Old Firm game, they need everybody to work back, to do defensive stuff. And I think that's Clement's biggest problem with Cantwell, and it's the discipline in general and his tactical, the way he deploys himself almost. And Silva last week, it was just so culpable for not getting back. I know it's end of season game at Tynecastle, but that's the kind of stuff like that miss against Hearts he had in the semi-final. They're the moments you go, no, absolutely no way, this boy hasn't got it. Plus he's telling the fans to shut it and all that when he scores a goal. You're not getting it at all. You're a danger to yourself, and that's why I would have Seema left, McCausland right, and Dessers up front with that kind of Lundstrom, Sterling and Diamandi in the middle, because we just need folk who are going to get ripped in, and no stop getting ripped in all game, and I've nothing going on up here, that's I'm the man. You need all out teamwork.
Aye, no, that's true. I think just on that last, we'll do a wee quick one about, I mentioned, Stephen, I mentioned this on Twitter earlier, like how would you start that front line? Because for me, I think this could go the whole hog. I think there is a big chance this game could go to extra time. I think the issue for me with starting Seema is that you're probably only going to get 60 or 70 minutes out of him. And if you look at how the Old Firm games have went this season, we have started bad in pretty much every single one of them. Now, the big injury problems that we have had have really only been for the last 2 or 3 games. I mean, the game at Parkhead, well, we didn't start great. The game at Ibrox, well, we didn't start great. We never had a fully fit squad, but, attacking options were a lot better back then. For that game at Parkhead, we had 10 minutes started. We had Matondo that could come on. It was the same, the game at Ibrox in the 3rd of September. So for me, it's kind of like, I know people are wanting, we want to start fast, we want to do this, we want to do that, but we've not been starting well against Celtic, regardless of whether we've played a good dynamic, pacey front three or Silva left wing, Sterling right wing, and Dessers up front. We've not started well either, and I just maybe think the manager could maybe try and be a wee bit clever about things and maybe just go, take a step back and think, this is maybe going to go for the whole hog. And I think as well as if we're in a position with 20 minutes to go where we're no 2-0 down, well, it's a draw at least, and, it's something as if it might go to extra time. I do think Celtic will tire out, because there is no way that Callum McGregor and Kyogo for a start are going to last 120 minutes. They might not even play the full 90 minutes. And we have seen the way that we have finished games against Celtic. And I think if we had a Seema coming into an extra time, bringing on guys like Tom Lawrence, Scott Wright, and Celtic don't have 2 of their main players to sort of rally the troops, and it's guys like Iwata instead of Callum McGregor, I think we could run all over the top of them in extra time. But at the same time, you kind of just want to go out and absolutely do them tomorrow as well. So it's finely balanced.
Take it any way we can get it, but bad starts are definitely a thing. That Celtic game at Ibrox and the 3 each game, and I think maybe Motherwell beating us at Ibrox. They were the 2 games that I kind of thought, no, and it's really 1.5 games, if you like, thinking that there was no real excuses there. That was, you've let yourselves down, whatever. And in a normal season, if you have a couple of games like that, you'll be okay. If you just get 2 games like that, but that was when I just think they get distracted, whatever. For me, I just feel as if the biggest doing we've had this season, you're absolutely right, Celtic tire, second half, every game. We've done better in the second half every game. The biggest football thumping biggest pasting we had this season was the 10 minutes between Seema giving us the lead against Real Betis and the Benito Villamarin, and us scoring our second goal, and Dessers making it 2-0. Look, the way they came at us, Betis, I thought we were going to get. We've wound them up here. We're really angered them. They're going to beat us 5-1. We shouldn't have scored. They're going to absolutely do us. But we'd had the start, and that had given us the belief. We'd got that goal first. We got the first goal, and then they played us after Park, hitting the woodwork. They score a goal, equalise, and then we get another one. The 20th minute we get next goal, and that made them. It took them a bit longer to get their second goal, Betis, but that really got under their skin, and I think it just shows the power of a good start. How it just gets your rhythm going, it gets you going. Seema, obviously not in any way fit, looking for a repetition at the same pitch in the same competition. He did it in the semi-final against Hearts. Seema came on for that. It was a quarter of an hour it lasted. And that was it. We'd scored the first goal at that point. I remember that day after the first minute thinking, we haven't conceded a chance on goal. We usually give away a crazy chance on goal, on our own goal, within the first 60 seconds this last couple of months. I thought, and the next thing we'd actually scored. We'd gone ahead after not doing that for once. We didn't have the defensive muck up, and next thing we've taken the lead. And then Seema goes off, and it goes downhill a bit. But, it's Hearts weren't great that day, but just getting that start gave us the basis. And I think that's a massive thing tomorrow. Listen, Craig, I think it should go anyway. I could think it could go to penalties. I can imagine Celtic doing that thing where all season they've just been, one goal, beating us by one goal, beating us by one goal. Tomorrow they go out and absolutely scalp us. It could be a hammering we take off them tomorrow. I can also see us getting out there and just doing something different, because it's become such a routine this season in the league that if we take that lead, that could be enough to just completely screw them up, screw up Celtic, and just give us a taste of something that's been so long since we've had it that the players will just find a new level of energy to make sure they get it.
Aye, and let's hope they can do. And I think that's a good way to wrap up there, Alec. Thanks very much for joining me. We'll be back. Are you going to be doing your post-match tomorrow after the game, I assume, yes?
Yeah, last post-match for Gersnet. That'll be good. Hope to go out in a blaze of glory.
Aye, well, that's it. Aye, that would be good. But after that, we're back on Sunday. It'll be John, Colin and Rob to review the game. But Alec, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure as usual.
No, pleasure, Craig. Thanks very much.
No problem, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. And aye, let's do it tomorrow. Like I said earlier, fortune favours the brave. Let's go. Have a good night, guys.